Elimination match, not yet. It is the final match that is not, as it's in the winner's bracket finals, but it is still so important because the winner of this match has a game advantage going into the best of 7 grand finals. And as you go on, we've got a lot of series today. Fatigue can set in, and that's such an important boon to have in your favor.
Yeah, we were feeling it all a bit yesterday as well when we started to see the teams, the later it got, especially Heroes Hearth Esports having the last game of the day. I just feel for them so bad because we were all just wondering with that Sonya pick, with the Brightwing pick, where were they going in this direction? And I feel like that's just sort of the pressure that just the end of the day can be. And you're fighting for your place to stay in the tournament.
Place to stay in the tournament. And first place, right? I mean, that'll give you some energy, but you're right. It gets into a long series. There's a lot of adaptations, a lot of things that have to come into the draft. And of course, as we start talking about the draft, for game 1 of this best of 5, we start with the Battleground pool. Michael Udall is getting pumped.
I'm so excited.
When we talk about Battlegrounds, there is one Battleground in particular that is a favorite of both of these teams, Jay Howe.
Dragonshire.
Yes.
Dragonshire and Dragonshire. It's been banned out against a lot of these teams. I know that going into the series against Dignitas, it was banned out, but neither team, this will be a Battleground. In a best of 5, that will come down, and that could be one of the decisive ones. I'm curious if somebody's willing to just get that out of the way and get it in game 1.
I think they for sure will. So the concept is, if both teams like playing Dragonshire, the team that basically picks first, you want to take them to that map. Okay, so they actually do end up, Dignitas does pick that Infernal Shrines, but where I was going with the picking Dragonshire, that is a good first or second pick map for you. And generally you only have 3 or 4 second pick maps that you're really comfortable on, right? So generally you want to come out the gate and pick up the contested one, so then you're putting the opponent, on a bad second pick map later on in the series.
Well, Shrines is kind of on the same page though, Jay Howe.
It is kind of on the same page because I'm looking at them statistically, and between both of them, they've only dropped 1 game coming into the Clash, and that was Tempo Storm. But when I looked at them stylistically a little bit different, I talked about putting your foot down and the aggression that I think that both these teams will come out with. They're going to do just that. When it comes to this Battleground, it's some of their highest KD averages. They don't just win on these Battlegrounds. They come out and they stomp people. What happens when 2 Titans collide on a Battleground? I think that's what we're going to find out.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say as well, it just also sets a tone for the rest of the game. We often talk about how that first game is to really size up against your opponent, to see what you're in for, whether you're going to draft on meta or whether you're going to try something cheesy. But to do it on a neutral Battleground that favors both, that's where you can really start to see the strengths of both teams because it's not having that Battleground disadvantage.
Here it is, game 1 as the draft gets underway between Team Dignitas and Tempo Storm. Get hyped, get amped as we get things started. I wanted to ask, as we started off, this is Infernal Shrines, but we saw Team 12 have difficulty with Team Dignitas' Tracer. Is that going to be a problem this series?
I mean, so I would expect Tempo Storm to come out and play against it, right? So they didn't automatically first ban it like we saw Team 12 doing after they'd lost to it. Basically, you challenge it. You say, okay, we're going to give you it 1 game. We're going to see how good is it actually. Is it something that we can just beat? And Team Dignitas right away, smartly, in my opinion, getting rid of that Maiev, not wanting to deal with it. And something I want to note about this map, Tempo Storm has been a team where they are very comfortable running a lot of melee heroes. A hero like Kerrigan really shines on Infernal Shrines. Not intended. But I would love to see that Psalm, one of the best Kerrigans in the world, pulled it out at BlizzCon, surprising everyone. And I would love to see it on this map. That would be such a statement. Game 1, Kerrigan just right into Dignitas' faces, like you were saying, Jay Howe.
And they haven't played her yet, this whole tournament, which has been very interesting to see. They have played a lot of melee, and Team Dignitas, again, see the Malfurion first pick and say, we are fine with taking this, even without the Malfurion, and they get their Tracer and pair it once again with the Tyrael that we saw first game versus Team 12.
And they've definitely gone that route. You talked about melee. The other melee you have to consider is a Ragnaros. This is something that Tempo Storm, Ragnaros has kind of fit Fan. He's normally the backliner, but he's the ultimate flex hero that they can go into this. And we talk about Infernal Shrines, it's hard to ignore Ragnaros. Gilly, you and I get a chance to watch a lot of North American on Infernal Shrines. We normally might see some Alex Straza.
Okay. I played versus Composition. They played against us in HG. It's the double support Kerrigan. They generally love to run it with a Mouth Ale. Did Dignitas do their homework? Are they going to ban the Mouth Ale here? It's a terrifying comp. Basically it is, we are going to face roll run at you. We have double support. We have double the Maelstrom and the Tormented Souls. So much AoE damage. So this really is a test. Did Dignitas prep? Do they know that Tempo prefers that Mouth Ale with this comp?
It's that wombo combo aspect, and it's very, very scary on, I guess, a map like Infernal Shrines. Seeing that Kerrigan as well, it's a very much so a confidence pick so high up in the draft. And this is Tempo Storm saying, we're going to put our best foot forward. We're expecting you to do the same. But that Tyrael now, with those sanctifications are timed right, we haven't really seen Tyrael have too much success in the tournament thus far. We're putting so much pressure around that sanctification cooldown because realistically, it's so hard to miss when there's so much going on, and it can be interrupted. We've seen so many interrupts with that Malfurion as well. He never gets a chance to use it in the team fights half the time.
I think one thing to consider that Kerrigan struggles against is stuns. CC. Tyrael doesn't have that. Uther has that, but Uther's on the side. It can warrant a lot of that. You can mitigate a lot of damage when you dive in. So I wonder if Dignitas is going to try and control that front line. Obviously, I think we'll see something else on the front line, maybe an Arthas. Wubby loves to play that secondary warrior role. He can play Tyrael as well. There's also, hey, Blaze is still around.
I know, it's crazy. Blazes has fallen so far in the strap, but something I want to know is the Leoric ban coming out by Tempo Storm. They saw how deadly that composition from Dignitas was on Dragon Child the other day. They had the exact same opening, that Tracer Tyrael, and then they went into Leoric later on. A very scary composition to play up against. So Tempo, respecting that, doing the homework, saying, we don't want to deal with that, right? You've proven that you're very strong on that hero, and Leoric needs tank shredders on the other team to be able to kill, and they've already drafted double support and Kerrigan, which aren't that good at killing a tank. So smart decision coming out by Tempo.
The other thing that if you've watched Dignitas historically, even pre-Wubby, they use the Leoric on this map better than anybody. He can, you see heavy, quick rotations from Dignitas on this battleground. Maybe even see a Greymane at the back end of this. But they use that Leoric to use that double wave soak if you have that, going Neil Peasants at level 4. And it forces you to respond. And if you don't win the Shrine, you're in trouble. There's the Blaze, but we get ourselves a Junkrat for that wave clear and some of that control.
We've seen Snitch already pick the Junkrat up twice on towers, and this just shows as well that they're not afraid to run that into this competition, giving them a lot of that poke into that Kerrigan, into the Uther. I like the Blaze pickup, but I was also thinking a Johanna might have fit that quite well. And we have seen we have seen Dignitas experience, I guess, like good results with the Johanna, because you're saying with that Kerrigan, we want that hard crowd control.
Yeah, I mean, something to know on Team Dignitas is they have the double save, right? They have the Tyrael Blaze, two warriors that in, this whole Western Clash have been very highly prioritized. So they have the sanctification, they have the bunker, which, are the tools to maybe stop that Kerrigan. I would like to see Tempo pick up some kind of, a dive-heavy backliner, maybe something like a Greymane, Leeming, that's able to go in with the composition that they already have. I would expect to see probably a second tank, but at this point, who knows? Maybe they go something like a Thrall Ragnaros. I could super see that Ragnaros, now that I mention it.
Yeah, in general, in lieu of having the Malthael,
melee stack.
They have to go to something else melee related. In this case, they're going to go for the Dahaka instead, though.
I'm just looking at Kerrigan and I'm thinking, who in the world do you dive on? I mean, Tyrael, no. Bunker, post 10, no. Tracer's going to be all over the place. Junkrat's going to have a trap waiting for you if you go. So your opportunities, I think, are going to be a little bit more limited with Kerrigan, but I don't think it's necessarily the dive focus. You can get the Dahaka to come in on the backside, but with this, it's more about shrine control. Look for an opportunity. You don't have to force anything with this composition if you're Tempo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that you brought that up, because when I initially saw this comp, I was like, they're going to dive, but now that you mentioned the shrine control, they're not going to dive. They're going to say, we have more sustain, we have better monkey clear, we're going to force you to come into us, which is a very scary proposition. If you have to go into a Kerrigan, that sets up really easy combos for her. So I feel like this is a scary situation for Dignitas. As far as supports go, I feel like they might go for something like the Stukov. That sounds can be really good at disrupting.
Stukov would work such a treat with their composition, but they're really dipping into it because of that support choke that they've really had. You can already see that double support with their Malfurion Uther being picked up.
Right.
They opt for the Rhaegar instead.
I mean, it's a much safer pick. It brings the cleanse, it brings the ancestral. The hero that Tempo Storm is going to try to be one-shotting, they're going to be able to save him, right? So Stukov is a much more aggressive support where you're going for that silence, is more of a, we're going to kill you before you kill us, but I think the Rhaegar is a very solid pick.
The Rhaegar is a solid pick, but I think when I look at this compositionally for Tempo Storm is that the Dahaka on this battleground is going to be looking around those shrines to come in just from behind the enemy team. Priority targets are going to be the Junkrat and the Rhaegar, and if you can isolate one person, whether it's with an isolation or you can get that tongue onto somebody and create that priority target, I think that's the scary part if you're on the side of Dignitas.
There's something else to consider too. Yesterday, Glaurung on some of his squishier heroes did get caught a couple of times by Fnatic. So in this case, is it also an extra nice thing that they have Glaurung on one of his more beefier, tankier heroes, Mike?
I mean, I don't think that was like a big thing at play. It wasn't, Tempo Storm coming out of it, Glau, you were dying too much. It's probably something that just goes well with their composition.
Okay.
I do think his Dahaka play yesterday was exceptional.
Yes.
I was very impressed with his Dahaka play, which in the past, I thought was kind of subpar, but this tournament, he has really amped it up and brought it up. So
right.
I would love seeing him on that Dahaka.
Well, it is time for the first game of the Winners Bracket Finals. I would love to hear who you think is going to take it.
Tempo Storm, 100%. Psalm Kerrigan is going to bring it home, and I'm so excited for it.
the confidence to me just speaks volumes. I mean, to lock in that Kerrigan, I'm going to have to back Tempo Storm for this first game.
For me, Dignitas, if they can win the first Shrine, I think that's going to be their best chance to victory, and I think that compositionally they might do that. I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to go with Dignitas for this first game, but I would not be surprised if Tempo pulls it out.
Though Blaze and Tyrio both sitting around a 40% win rate right now, Tracer is doing very well, and it's Poik's Tracer at that. You've got Snitch's Junkrat. It's hard for me to say no, even though we have seen the Tyrio and Blaze have trouble in the past together. I think Dignitas is still going to be able to deal with it. They've been able to see, they did their homework, they banned the Malthael. So I got to say Team Dignitas here as well. But as always, I'm happy to be proven wrong by North America. What do you guys think at home? Team Dignitas, for now, let's see if Tempo Storm can sway your votes with their Kerrigan composition. We're heading over to the casting desk with Trixler and Caldor for game 1.
It's Championship Sunday, and what a great way to start our day. North America versus Europe, Dignitas versus Tempo Storm. Caldor, how excited are you?
We have the number 1 seeds going up against each other, and I am certainly hyped for this one. This is going to be an epic series, and it already feels like a grand final. To the left, currently in blue, we have JPL on Tyrio, we have Snitch on Junkrat, Wooby on Blaze, Poik on Tracer, Zalia on Rhaegar. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Team Dignitas!
On the right side in the red, Malfurion being played by Fan, Glaron playing Dahaka, June on Uther, Kettle on Arthas, and Psalm will play Kerrigan. Give it up for Tempo Storm!
Game number 1 in the best of 5 series here at the winner bracket final. It is going to be absolutely awesome. Junkrat once again played by Snitch, and so far Dignitas has played the hero twice this tournament, and both times they were successful. These are the most successful teams in the tournament. A 5-2 track record for Dignitas, 5-1 for Tempo Storm, the 2 number 1 seeds, and this is just absolutely awesome that we have this series to start our day off.
We know that Dignitas has a composition that they're going to be strong with. We've seen the Tracer pretty darn often, but I'm looking over to North America. This Kerrigan coming out in game 1 in a best of 5 series, a pretty bold move here by Psalm.
Exactly, both of the teams with a very aggressive draft here, and Tempo Storm showing the double support, showing the Kerrigan here, and not going for any of those range damage dealers that you would expect. They're really trying to dominate these fights, go in and just crush Dignitas in the first game. And Dignitas, they play with Tracer, they play with Junkrat. They are also here to take it, and so far, they've been doing a decent job trying to keep themselves safe from that Kerrigan that you just pointed out.
That's the identity of Tempo Storm, playing multiple melees, finding kills, and trying to overrun their opponent. And they will have to make sure to land on a target at some point here. A Kerrigan opener into a Howling Blast, into a Malfurion root will definitely be a dead target in the early game. It's just a matter of whether or not Dignitas is playing safe enough to not allow it to happen. And so far, their rotations have been great. They've been playing back, making sure no one's out of position. The only one that's taken some damage so far has been Poik on Tracer, and she has blinks.
Yeah, and of course, North America has never done better at an international tournament in HGC than they have here. And this is the momentum that they're currently attempting to use to take Dignitas down. And they are aggressive from the get-go, going over to the left side of the map and attempting to steal Dignitas' camp away. So mercenary control very high up on the priority list for Tempo Storm.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I've actually been impressed with Tempo Storm this weekend is their macro play has gotten much better than what I've expected in the past, and I've loved it so far. Taking away the Merc on the right, but another fight right away here in the middle. Psalm goes in for an engage, misses a combo, and he'll get punished as Poik brings in a pulse bomb.
Kerrigan is down as she was trying to go for Poik, but Tracer moving in and taking Kerrigan down as Dignitas opens the game up with a first blood.
One of the issues of playing Kerrigan is when you go in for a combo, if you don't land it initially, suddenly you're a duck out of water, right? You're trying to find a way to get away on the escape. That'll get better at level 7 when we continue to work in those auto attack talents, but Malfurion and Uther have to be back there to support that Kerrigan if she ever goes too far and doesn't get that catch.
And Kerrigan in the early game wants to get these kills. Look at that lineup that we have for Tempo Storm. There's so much CC. The Howling Blast of Arthas, the Frozen Tempest, Malfurion, of course, also going in with the roots. Then you have the stuns on Uther, on Kerrigan. They really want to go in and isolate targets on the lane, take them down early on. But Dignitas currently is what they do best. They take these slight experience leads that slowly and steadily build up to give them a significant advantage.
Now this is a spot where Tempo Storm wants to get to the Shrine first and start working on that level 4 here. The Fury of the Swarm getting in those auto attacks, building up the shield towards Psalm, so he has a pretty tanky Kerrigan to go in for the engage. See that current shield being built up right now. He goes in, drops into Poik. Poik blinks away just fine and safe, but Tempo Storm clearing out the top lane should start the shrine soon.
And let's not forget that Tempo Storm also runs the Haka, so the global advantage, we're seeing him moving between the mid and the bot lane as Dignitas has to use 2 heroes to counteract that. Cattle moving into the middle, but missing the Howling Blast against Whoopi. As up to the top, we're now seeing that 3 versus 3 situation with Tempo Storm taking the shrine control thanks to Kerrigan.
Yeah, already a lead here, 17-0. JPL dropping down the Aldruin as Zilia will start clearing out a few of the minions. Tempo Storm pulls back for now with Arthas going in the middle, as you just mentioned. I mean, they don't have their tank to follow up that Kerrigan combo that could be coming out. They have a stun from June, but nothing to lock down a target. So I like the play to back up and wait.
There was a bit of a skirmish in the rotation between Arthas and Blaze, and Tempo Storm came out ahead in that. So now we have them with 4 heroes at the top. Blaze moved back into the mid lane. So Dignitas already signaling here, hey, we're willing to give this first one up, but we need to get value on the 2 remaining lanes. So they're trying to delay Tempo Storm up at the top shrine for as long as they can while they pressure the bottom lane. Nice drag here by Gloran. Great play by him and putting Snitch into a lot of trouble here as Junkrat is running low on HP.
Tempo Storm finally finishing off that Punisher, gets one to the top side to push in. And don't forget about the level 7 coming in for Carrion. The Fury of the Swarm, working in those auto attacks, getting the splash damage in there, being very, very strong. And also, don't forget about the basic attacks reducing. Kerrigan's basic abilities get reduced by 0.6 seconds for those auto attacks, meaning that if Kerrigan goes in for a combo, kites back to her double support, she should, if she gets auto attacks in, have another combo up. And that's where a lot of teams get baited into a fight.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about that potential of Tempo Storm just crushing Dignitas in the big team fight if they get these initial CCs off, if they connect with the combo. Of course, later on, Bunker and Sanctification will be great tools for Dignitas to try and mitigate that. But we have to wait for the level 10 fights for those to come into play.
Dignitas with the easy defense, don't have to do too much with that Punisher. Now it's all about the macro for both of our teams. And look at the experience, neck and neck between Dignitas and Tempo Storm. But one of the greatest things, we keep coming back to it, about Tempo Storm, the new roster here, is how great their macro's been.
And Dignitas at this point is just realizing that they have to take their own camp immediately after respawning, since they know Tempo Storm is very likely to make the attempt again to steal it away. Tempo already taking their own, so both of them meeting in the middle of the map. But yeah, we're definitely in neck and neck experience here. And the level 10s, this is when this game is going to absolutely explode. Also, very typical now for Europe again, Reciprocate taken on Infernal Shrines for Tyrael, the standard talent to go for here, unless of course you run with a very, very auto attack heavy composition. And Tempo Storm with a great choice here at the bot lane, in quick invade, and Dignitas just absolutely respects this Kerrigan composition and realizes, hey, we have to back off.
You have to. Kerrigan in the early game has the invade power. While she has that combo, you are fearful of what she brings to the table. Now, 10 right around the corner, as you just mentioned. Uther has a Divine Shield available to help out with that Kerrigan Maelstrom, but there is always a possibility of going for more CC with possibly a Divine Storm.
Level 10 Zion and immediate Dignitas go for the kill. Yeah, the Tire comes in. Divine Shield being used by June in the last second to make sure that Kerrigan doesn't fall. Great aggressive play once the heroic abilities come in. The snap decision made by Dignitas. We have the heroics. Let's go in and try and get the kill.
But that's still a Divine Shield down for a Kerrigan that wants to go into an engage. You want that safety net. One, to build out shields, but also so Kerrigan can work on those auto attacks and get that level 7 built up.
Great rotation here from Dignitas as well, staying in that bot lane and putting the pressure onto the structures. But here comes Tempo Storm. Snitch gets cleansed, dodging the combo of Psalm. Very important for Dignitas to have a cleansed support in this game. Rhaegar doing his best to work against the CCs on Tempo Storm's side.
Dignitas with their disengages really paying off. If they miss a single disengage, it's where Kerrigan gets that kill. Arthas follows up, gets locked down with that Frozen Tempest. Every single time they see that duo come forward, Dignitas backs away as quick as possible. But as we get ready for the next Shrine phase, that Divine Shield up in 30 seconds, things are about to get a little bit harder.
Yeah, and one of the problems, of course, for Tempo Storm is that they are very melee focused. This allows especially Junkrat to poke from a distance around the shrines very heavily. But that's also where Tempo Storm's double support is going to shine, to simply mitigate all of the damage that Junkrat puts out with that poke.
Same time though, Junkrat trying to build into his level 4, takes 4 explosions, doesn't mind that poke constantly happen there. He gets more damage over time. It's all a matter of whether or not Tempo Storm can clear a shrine quick enough and then start to push into a fort and break it. They want to get that infrastructure.
What's going to be really important for both teams are the choke points here around the shrine, especially with Tempo Storm CC, but also with Junkrat mindset we have. And again, the pressure, this time against Cattle, already dropping to half HP, but not forced to use the army just yet. The camps at the top lane are going to face off against each other soon, but the two teams are heavily committed committed to the shrine.
Quake right now, just trying to build up another bomb. Here comes Wubby with the jet propulsion. Cattle gets low, use Army in the dead. Glaurung comes on the back left side.
Bunker on the ground. Army is in position, and this is where Tempo Storm takes the shrine control. But Dignitas is on the move in. Sanctification is still up, and so is Riptire.
It's close here, 22-13. Psalm jumps in, still has his combo available. Here comes the tire. The tire going forward. It will land on Cattle, but right now, Stitch is just trying to buy some time, letting his team clear the shrine.
Snitch buys the time, let it rip. Is about to go in here. Cattle is low in mana, he needs to be careful. Glaurung already using Burrow, and immediately we're seeing Poik going in deep. But here comes Kerrigan, the Divine Shield activated, and she goes straight for the Maelstrom. But so far, Tempo Storm hasn't found that kill yet.
They have to find a kill soon, because Bunker's up in 3 seconds, and they have to disengage. Tempo Storm walks away, and Dignitas will take the middle shrine.
Dignitas takes the Punisher and is now on their way to the top lane, making sure that Blaze soaks the experience. A slight lead for the blue team, and we will see them with the early level 13. So Tempo respecting that and staying very far behind. They are willing to sacrifice a lot here. They need to wait for Arthas to come back in, but here comes the jump, and Dignitas will look to follow it up.
And here's one of the risks of having a multiple melee type of composition. Your poke on the Punisher is very little, and Dignitas knows this. JPL stepped up, threatening Arthas, threatening Kerrigan. If a Punisher goes in, he could try to force a little bit of harassment on. And this Punisher finally getting taken down, but it gets free for it.
You know, you raised such a good point here. This is one of the major problems when you're playing on any map where an objective starts to move in form of a Punisher, an Immortal, or maybe even a Protector. If you have a lot of range damage dealers, you can poke it down from a safe distance and make it very difficult for your opponent to gain value. But with a melee-heavy composition that Tempo Storm uses, they always have to either fully commit or move back, and that was exactly what we saw. We saw Dignitas having the level 13, and that really dissuaded them from going in and committing to a team fight around the Punisher. So they lost the fort in the mid lane, and Dignitas is now attempting to run with that one level advantage that they gained through it.
And we bring that up because Tempo Storm knows this coming into this battleground. They want to win every single shrine with them having such a melee composition. That's why Dignitas comes in there and they contest so heavily on the second shrine after 10s. Now, with it all being said and done, we have a full level lead here for Dignitas, that fort in the middle, just being enough experience. Tempo Storm's hanging in there, but it's starting to look a little deadly here with 16 right around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. This is definitely going to be an issue for them. So when we're going into the next shrine phase, they have to adapt here. And talking about adaptations, I really want to highlight something else. Fuel League is the traditional talent in Europe on level 13. But this is another great example how with talents you can react to your opponent's team composition. As we are seeing nanomechanic coding taken by Wubby on Blaze. So the whole idea is to reduce the attack speed of the opponent's team. So a slight adjustment in the build catering towards the map and the melee-heavy setup of Tempo Storm by Team Dignitas.
Yeah, it's important with the Kerrigan and the Dahaka having talents to help them with auto attacks. It's great to slow it down just by a smidgen to get your Junkrat a little bit more time to get a few more grenades in and mix in those fights. Now, a little bit of a scuffle here in the middle, but nothing breaking too much here. You can see Tempo Storm starting to get a little hungry here. They know they need to make something happen soon. They want to get a pick or even set up before the shrine pops up, which will be to the very far south of the map.
One of the things that makes it, by the way, really difficult for Tempo Storm in a lot of these fights is Junkrat. It's a huge problem that Junkrat with a concussion mine can simply push them away once they try to engage with Kerrigan. You want to set that combo up and you have to stack these CCs just absolutely flawlessly. But if Junkrat goes in and Snitch plays it well, it will be very difficult for them to get that synergy between the characters.
With that being said though, despite the difficulty, Tempo Storm has done pretty well in trying to feint some aggression. We'll see if they ever get the pick that they do want. A little bit of a damage here in the middle, trying to grab that turret, realizing they're pretty far behind in experience. Tempo Storm is looking for something on the battleground to get them kind of back on that talent level, because now it's a level and a smidge here that they're behind.
Yeah, and one of the problems is, we talked yesterday about how smart Tempo Storm was in only taking fights where they had an advantage once they were ahead. And Dignitas is currently giving them a taste of their own medicine. They're just really playing this a bit more passive than we're used to, because they know they have a level lead, and they know that with level 16, they can make their plays. And we already see them going for the fort even before the shrine is activated.
That medicine, man. No one likes that dark cherry flavor. Tempo Storm themselves not even feeling it here as another fort gets picked off in the bottom side. The more important thing here, too, there's no well in the middle, no well in the bottom. Tempo Storm has one fight, and that's it.
Look at Dignitas. They're actually pushing through the bot lane.
Oh,
they're going for Uther, and they're getting the kill. Glaurung is in the vicinity, too, but there's absolutely no way he can commit here. And we have Dignitas just simply pushing through the wall. We're coming back to that problem of having no poke damage available.
Tempo Storm has to give it away. They know that. They started pushing the top lane. They got the Merc Camp as well to grab them some experience. There is a large lead for Dignitas on the Shrine too, 26-0. Tempo Storm, best bet right now, get 16 and defend.
Yeah, Tempo Storm trying to lock Poik down on Tracer, but he's just simply laughing in their face, dodging everything. And in the meantime, Dig is already on the shrine and even attempting to take the camp away here. Snitch jumping around with Junkrat straight into the middle as Tempo Storm is waiting for Uther to be back and for level 16. But we have that Frozen Punisher for Dignitas. They move through the bot lane, and with them just taking down the wall at the keep, they're going straight for the final structure on the bottom lane.
But before this fight does break out, Tempo Storm did have some good news. Top left fort finally did fall. They got level 16 as well, and they have Dehaka split pushing in the top left corner. He can come in at any point, takes that push to the side.
Dehaka just came in from the back. He wants to go in. Cattle is in a bit of trouble, but immediately goes for his own ult here. Maelstrom and Divine Shield already stacked up as Poik is moving out, but the bunker is on the ground as Glorang needs to be careful here, looking for the additional drag. Howling Blast comes through and the bunker finally disappears, but the Punisher is still in play.
And the Punisher jumps in. Sanification will be used. Glorang takes some damage. Will use the Essence to stay alive. Solomon himself trying to go for another combo. They do get Junkrat low. Can they get him? Tempo Storm trying to hold, but Storm will fall instead.
Fantastic Twilight Dream by Fan, but it was just not enough. Kerrigan is down and Dignitas wants to go in. They want to go deep, but they want to go for the keep and a potential second kill. They're moving in with the Punisher, and Tempo Storm is in trouble. Already attempting to bait it a bit more towards the middle, and Dignitas is looking at the core.
Punisher jumped. Keep will help out the defense. Dignitas jumping on the core, as you mentioned. June being on the front here, trying to get a stun on Wubby, but Wubby turns around, gets a jump proposal.
Cattle is down. Arthas is dead. Dignitas with a second kill. The bunker's back in play, and Glorang also is taking a beating here. Dehaka goes down. The Dinosaur is distinct once more as we have them moving into the core, trying to drop the game here. Tempo Storm is losing the core down to 50%. At this point, there's just no hope for them anymore. Even with Kerrigan going back, Dignitas is going to claim this first game, right-clicking the core, and they take the lead in the series at the winner bracket final.
Dignitas comes out on Championship Sunday in game number 1. Not a game that you would see a lot of kills in there, but great macro play overall. Got a smidgen of a lead, and eventually we're able to take a Punisher, run the keep, get a kill or two, and take the core. They are now up 1-0 over North America's best.
Dignitas realized the strength of the composition of Tempo Storm, and they played very well to avoid going into these fights that they're trying to dodge, playing towards the weakness, pushing with objectives, and just simply exploiting the fact there was no poke damage, no real range damage on the side of their opponent. And then when they had the opportunity, they closed out the game early on. Very well done, and that sets us up for our series, and I'm pretty hyped after this first game.
That I am as well. Let's go over to our panelists and see what they think about that game.
Clean, coordinated, and controlled. That is how Team Dignitas plays. And for Tempo Storm, they brought in game 1. It was Infernal Shrines. They're willing to bring in a strategy that has worked for them quite a lot in North America, Mike. But Team Dignitas had none of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Malthael bound was very intelligent coming out by Dignitas. It really it takes a lot of the punch out of that composition, but I mean, that game really, in my decision, or like, it just came down to macro, right? Like,
yes.
Dignitas got a small lead, and then they just snowballed that small lead to constantly get smaller and smaller and smaller until it's like this huge, you know, full level lead. Basically, they get a freedom moral off it. Sorry, I almost hit you in the face. But
Excuse me?
Yeah, it's just smart play coming out by Dignitas.
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, the macro play. They get more out of a Punisher than anybody else I've ever seen. And they did it in 2 instances. Vandy and I are sitting over here, we're talking about it. The middle Punisher, the minute they got that, they rotated out. They went down, they took a little bit, they got the well, and then they went and grabbed that Shaman camp, which is normally timed for the objective. That the previous time they held it, this time they got it early, they went down, they got a fort, and they took basically the retreat point. They took away the entire retreat point of Tempo, and then they got so much more out of it. And the minute they got that Punisher, it was, we're just sitting there, I'm like, all they have to do now is, this is guaranteed keep, it might be game, and it ended up being game.
It did. With that Punisher, it just allowed them to really just smash through, and then that stagger death at the end there, we were all like, okay, that's going to be game. But like you said, you don't notice the losses because it's a well, it's going to be a tower, you were saying, it's going to be a front wall, but then those losses really add up, even as you were saying, Mike.
Mike, do you have a replay to show us from that game?
I do. It was the turning moment in the game, in my opinion. Is the Punisher, the Dignitas kids. Can you pause right here? I want to point out a couple things. All right, so right now, this Infernal Shrine is looking good for Tempo, right? Look, in the bottom right, they're up 22 monkeys to 14. So they're up 8. And what Team Dignitas does, Snitch right here, you can see him channeling his Riptire. He makes a really smart decision. he doesn't actually explode it. He holds basically, you can start playing it slowly. He's going to hold basically the entire channel, zoning Tempo Storm off. Watch, Psalm, Cattle, Gal, they all start backing up. And what is Dignitas doing? They're just focusing the Punisher minions. They're just saying, okay, we're going to even up this lead. We're just going to use the Riptire to zone you out, to basically even up. And look, right now on the bottom right, it's 23 to 26. 27 now, Dignitas takes the lead. And what they're going to do is they're going to use the Tyrael Sanct. Tyrael goes in, JPL, uses that Sanctification. Watch Wubby and Snitch. They instantly start going back. Their objective focus, just very intelligent play, forcing basically Tempo Storm to just run away. When Tempo had a great rotation, they rotated there first, they got the lead, and Dignitas ends up getting the Punisher by just using their ultimates, not to necessarily go for kills, but just the threat of kills, and then just use that to get the Punisher.
I want to highlight something that I mentioned in why I predicted that Team Dignitas would win that game, and that is that this kind of composition is not easy to run. We've seen a lot of teams at this event try to run the Blaze and Tyrael together, and you have to be coordinated with your cooldowns. You have to understand Bunker is way shorter, so you have to make sure that you're dropping that, and then leaving Sanctification when needed, and then you have Ancestral Healing as a fail-safe from that. Team Dignitas is the team that's going to do that the best here, in my opinion. Do you agree?
It's always that way. I think a lot of that revolves around Wubby. He's always knowing when to use his. And JPL is one of the most veteran warriors that we have in this game. So when you bring two of the most experienced and accomplished players and put them on the front line, it makes it that much easier for the rest of the team.
Yeah, it just goes to show statistically that that's not the whole picture, for sure, when you are starting to look at these kinds of compositions.
Yeah, and I mean, just adding on to the threat of using that ultimate, they also really picked apart that weakness of the composition of Tempo Storm. Such melee heavy focus, you could see them. The only real person that'd be able to hit that Junkrat tire would be the Malfurion. And I mean, you're not going to be wanting to be anywhere near it to begin with. So just also calculating and knowing the weaknesses is like, we actually can use this to zone quite easily. And it's just that decision making on the fly. It's so impressive to see by Dignitas.
Now Team Dignitas has chosen Battlefield of Eternity to take us for game number 2, which is an interesting one, as I believe Team Dignitas has not always felt super confident when we talked to them about this map.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has not been one of their strongest maps in the past, but this is a big confidence sign coming out from them. Basically choosing to pick this map right here means they have a strategy or they feel really comfortable, you know, winning this map. I mean, Dragonshire was up, right? That is a map that leading into the series, we said that's one that both teams really do like, but Dignitas prefers to go to that Battlefield of Eternity. I would expect, you know, them to have something planned. They're not just going to pick that, you know, what map should we play? I don't know, guys. You know, like, this is calculated. This is planned. They figured this out yesterday before the series even started.
Please continue to vote for the team you think will take the series in chat. We'll check in with that before game 2. But back to Battlefield of Eternity, any immediate thoughts on compositions or
Don't
heroes?
let Tracer through.
All right.
Just don't let Tracer through. Point coming into this series, or coming into the Western Clash in 5 games, averaged 4.8 kills per game. That is the most on Tracer, tied with somebody else in Europe named Schwempy. But he is a deadly hero, and given room to work, that is even scarier. I'd be surprised if that makes it through here, Gillian.
Yeah, I'd like to see the prioritization on the Tracer ban, especially as Dignitas have been favoring it so much in this tournament.
Yep.
Not even Dignitas. Beautiful stuff to kickstart off. But yeah, not even just Dignitas. A lot of teams we've seen Tracer, because she's enabled so easily by that Malfurion, she becomes a real threat. You no longer have to pair her with that traditional Tassadar.
Mike, how does it feel when you lose to that hero and you know you're going to be banning it just a whole lot more in this series?
I mean, it definitely is a rough feeling knowing that you have to ban a hero every single time just because they are so strong playing with it. That being said, I mean, I feel like Dignitas is kind of doing the same thing. You know, they're banning that Maiev because they're afraid of Tempo Storm.
That's true.
So, I mean, it goes both ways, right? That's where the cool inner meta of a best of 5 evolves, right? Game 1 is always going to be, okay, you play your best strategy, we play our best strategy, which one's going to win? And then game 2 is, you know, generally the loser bans away one of the core picks of that strategy, and you kind of evolve from there and continue to progress. So Tempo actually does opt to still go for that Malfurion, even though the Tracer is banned. Very interesting decision coming out by them. I'm curious what Dignitas does. I mean, last time they did Tracer Tyrael, but Tracer is off the board, so I wonder if they'll prioritize Blaze higher. Blaze Tyrael's been something that we've seen in the 1-2.
Well, Tempo Storm have really enjoyed playing that Malfurion, but Dignitas have shown such priority. When they are allowed to have that first pick, Malfurion is what they like to open up with, not giving away too much of the draft. So Tempo Storm as well, they feel like it would be too good to give to Dignitas. Also, it bolsters their defense and their draft, because that Malfurion, Jun on it, and even Fan, they're happy to run that double support composition, giving themselves some flexibility as well.
Flexibility, I think, is going to be the name of the game. I mean, we've still got Li Ming and Greymane to consider, which are two great heroes that Malfurion struggles to deal with because they both bring so much burst damage, and Malfurion lacks in that in a lot of ways. And this is a good way to dive. It's a good way to control that front line, and you just have such a solid foundation with Team Dignitas that you can literally, with Snitch and Poik on the backside, you can literally do whatever you want. That's how good this team is when you have JPL and Wubby up there.
Well, and that's one of the biggest things I want to know is JPL and Wubby, I feel like, are the best Blaze trio at this tournament, right? As a duo, I feel like they are hands down, you know, that synergy, that coordination, and I think a lot of that just comes from their experience as players, right? They've been in so many internationals that it is just so powerful and so strong. And the Hanzo actually coming out for Tempo Storm, I mean, this is a Psalm favorite. I think he is hands down the best North American Hanzo. So I would love to see him on it. I know Fan also plays the hero, but I feel like when Psalm's on it, it really is just a different beast.
I agree. Psalm is